Hello there. Welcome to Black Condor Talks. This is a space for us to dive deep into healing journeys and explore the transformative powers of plant medicine, the wisdom that these plants have, and to create an opportunity to unpack what these sacred experiences can mean for melanated bodies and how we can step into our power and heal our lives. I'm Adorable Earth Angel. I'm the director of Black Condor Tribe. And today I am so fully honored to have with us a very special guest, Erika Gagnon. Uh,
Hey, Adorable. Good to see you again.
Good to see you again. Eric, I'm just going to give just a brief little snippet as to who you are. Erica is someone that I met many moons ago when I myself was still stepping into my power, still trying to understand my relationship with plant medicines. And I met her at this beautiful gathering and just learned about the amazing medicine that she carries. She is a world-renowned ceremonial healer, leader, wisdom carrier, and someone who's been walking the path of what she calls the heart, which I love in her description, the heart path, helping others to understand how to walk their path of healing and self-discovery. She's born in Canada and embraces her mixed heritage and has spent 28 years deeply immersed in the medicine path and the red road. Learning directly from Indigenous elders across the North and South America. She's been blessed to carry forth the traditions of the Temescal, the tobacco, water blessings, and healing ceremonies, among others. Thank you so much, Erica, for being here and welcome.
Oh, such an honor to be here. It's so good to see you again. And yes, it has been many moons for us. So it's sweet. I don't think I've seen you now in a couple of years at least. And so I'm really honored by the work you're doing and to be here to share in this way. And truly, I think I want to be clear at the beginning that in my mixed race heritage, I have three races. And I want to honor all my ancestors. And I want to be clear that I don't identify as First Nations, Native American, because I don't feel I have enough. But that's a whole discussion we can talk about. But enough blood. I certainly was not raised in that way and have not had to suffer many of the traumas and discrimination, especially in these Americas. And so I want to be clear about that. The only reason I can walk with what I walk is that 30-year walk on the red path and medicine path and my Indigenous elders in North and South America. So I feel very honored to have been able to heal in that path, and then also now to be able to give back and give to others. And I usually, if it's possible, I usually like to start with an opening prayer. If we could do that, it's a short gratitude prayer.
Absolutely.
Hey,
We
wonderful.
would
So
love
you
to
are
receive that.
you are welcome to have your eyes open or closed as long as your heart is open. And we'll just take a breath together. Ah. Oh, great spirit, great mystery. Gratitude for this brand new day. For one more day to be alive and receive the beauty and the bounty that this generous earth offers us in unconditional love each and every day. Gratitude for the original peoples of this land, the Ohlone people who lived here long before us, the original guardians and stewards, and to their descendants who are still here. We honor them and we ask for their blessings for this sharing today. Gratitude for the four winds, the four directions, the four elements, the four stages of life, from the heart of the earth to the heart of the sky to the heart of the spirit that lies between. Gratitude for the standing people, the trees with their roots in the ground and their branches in the air, reminding us that we too are that connection between earth and sky. Gratitude for all the two-leggeds, our blood family, our heart family, all of our ancestors. And gratitude for the four-legged creatures, those who walk on all fours, who, when they do so, their hearts are closest to this earth and they can best feel the heartbeat of this planet, and they know how to live in harmony and balance upon it. We knew this when we were babies and we crawled upon this earth. But when we stood up to 2 feet, we distanced our hearts from this planet. And so we need to work a little harder to remember how to live in harmony and balance upon it. Gratitude for all that creeps and crawls and slithers upon this earth. to the mineral world and the mushroom world and the plant world and the metal world. Gratitude for all of our sacred waters, our ponds and streams and rivers and springs and waterfalls and lakes and our oceans, and for all of the beings that live inside of them, asking for forgiveness for all that we have dirtied and sullied and poisoned of our sacred waters. Asking for forgiveness also for all we have dirtied and sullied and poisoned of our earth and our air. Gratitude for the winged ones in the sky, for all the little insects and all the pollinators, the bees, the butterflies, the hummingbirds that will then pollinate the flowers that become our food and our nourishment and our medicines, our fruits and nuts and grains and seeds and vegetables and trees. Gratitude for the winged ones that sing their songs all through the day and even into the night, for their music brings joy into our lives. And for the highest flying eagles and condors, gratitude to remind us of our freedom and of our ability to see the greater picture of things from a higher perspective in life. Gratitude for the wind nation and the cloud nation and the star nation and the thunder and lightning beings and the moon and the sun that remind us that we are all one here together upon this planet. We are all interconnected in this giant web of life. And as one Indigenous elder from these lands said so long ago, whatever we do to this web of life, we do to ourselves. And so gratitude for this beautiful symbiosis that we call our home, this planet Earth, this floating ball of earth and air and fire and water floating in the middle of the cosmos. Gratitude for our ancestors lined up behind us on our maternal and paternal sides, going back to the beginning of time. We are the reality of their dreaming. We are the tip of the arrow of our entire ancestral lineage. And so gratitude to each and every one for all that they had to live through to get here today. Gratitude and asking for those who are here with love and kindness and respect and wisdom, and for us to be present in our lives, to offer us that backing that we need to be here, right now on this planet. Gratitude, Great Spirit, for the greatest gift that we have been given, the gift of life in this body, in this incarnation, at this moment in time upon this planet, for all of my relations. Simply taking a breath together. Ah, thank you.
Wow.
No.
I have to lead an interview now.
It's good. It's always such a good thing to just honor, everything that is in gratitude. And so many Indigenous peoples have different, prayers, gratitude prayers. And so I'm really honored to have received that from my elders, and then also to just start to make it somewhat of my own in the sharing. So we'll just go on a little journey of gratitude and then come right back down. So thank you.
Yes, I feel like it was already an elevated conversation, but I just think it's so beautiful to even think about as we even go to speak and share any form of wisdom, just creating that space, the opportunity to tap in. I'm curious, so Erika, you've walked this medicine path for 28 years, and I'm
30,
curious if you can 30. Okay.
Nearly half my life.
Let me put some more respect on that. So 30 years. So what is like, can you share like a pivotal moment or lesson from your personal journey that significantly shaped your approach to facilitating ceremonies today?
I think, I was a very logical and rational person and had no connection to the red path or the medicine path till I was 30. And the truth is, I was at a pretty low moment in my life, and I sat in my first sweat lodge run by an Indigenous elder. And when I heard the prayers for our ancestors and the earth and the sky and the waters, I knew, and the sun and the moon, I knew this is what I really believed in, and felt the connection to that path, that lineage in the prayers in that lodge. And when in a sweat lodge or temazcal, we're returning to the womb of the earth and we're receiving all the elements. and praying in there for our rebirth when we crawl back out. And so that was probably the biggest initiative ceremony for me. And then the next one was actually a vision quest where we go without food and water for 4 days, 4 nights. And we, I mean, there are different traditions. So in the tradition that I now have been on for since 2000, so that's 23 years. No food, no water, 4 days, 4 nights, and we're out in the elements with 2 blankets, and we're praying for our lives, and we've made tobacco ties so the spirits will come read, what we're praying for and asking for. And that actually was probably the most powerful of all the ceremonies, and because of the emptying out and the gratitude that comes in when we go without food and water, and then the connection we have to all the elements, the earth that we sit upon, the air that we're breathing, the water. My 13-day vision quest, because in this path, the 4th-year commitment is actually 13 days. Always the first 4 days, no food, no water. And the rain that will fall on you, and this watching the sun and the moon go up and down for 13 days, and understanding my part, where I am in this giant web of life, and the understanding of balance between night and day and rain and sun. And so I think I think the vision quest was probably the most powerful ceremonies that helped to really help me on my healing path.
That's phenomenal to think about, just you starting out on that journey. And even, I mean, because it's going with no food, no water, right? It's to think like you're like, yeah, I'm gonna choose more of this. There was something there that lit you up to let you know. I think, yeah, within the healing path, I noticed there are some things that are where there's like discomfort, but then within that discomfort, you're getting something more is unlocked within you. And so it sounds like you said, yeah, no food, no water, all these opportunities to be humbled in a temazcal, where I feel like, it's a very intense environment. For folks who haven't been in a sweat lodge, it's very intense. But it sounds like in that there were all these opportunities to purify and kind of connect you further down your path, which is really beautiful.
Absolutely. And I think, that during these times now, we're in 2024, and so much gratitude to especially my Indigenous elders on this path. So I really want to honor them. I want to give thanks to Little Bear Nason of the Esalen tribe in California, to Aurelio Diaz Tecpancali, Purepecha, and Carmen Vicente from Ecuador, and more recently Don Victor Estrada and Don Agustin Guzman for their openness, first of all, to allow not fully native or part native or non-natives to be in their ceremonies. Most everyone will be very clear that everyone who needs healing should have access to that healing. And the vision quest and the sun, I'm also a sun dancer, and the sun dance, they're not for everyone. Like you said, it's really pushing one to the edge of clearing out, and then being able to be open to receive the guidance from spirit and the connection to all that surrounds us. And in that comes, for me at least, a lot of gratitude for what we do have, especially when we go without food and water, and gratitude for our ancestors, who are the only reason we can actually be here at this moment in time. So I'm very grateful for this red path, which sometimes is different than a medicine path. And I think for me, the gift has been to be in both. And I know a lot of people right now are jumping in the medicine path, but for me, the precursor to that has been the red path, and all the altars and the ceremonies that go with that don't involve always medicine per se. The medicine is in the trees and the earth and the water or lack of water. So the tobacco medicine has always been present though in all of that. So very grateful.
That's phenomenal. Like to just hear your level of cultural respect. I know you mentioned like being a mixed heritage woman on this path and not coming like feel, not coming purely, I guess, from some of the different modalities and traditions in which you're teaching and expressing like how have you been able to navigate honoring indigenous traditions that you're carrying like respecting your own background and how has this influenced how you carry the medicine as a ceremonialist?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It has definitely been a very challenging thing to honor and respect a different culture and tradition, and yet also receive from it, and then now be sharing that with others. I just turned 60 and this past year, and it was really interesting.
Woohoo!
I know, I
Congratulations.
can't believe it. And it's been really interesting because really I'm primarily French Canadian, 50% French Canadian, half French Canadian, half Japanese. But then there's a very small amount of Native American on the French Canadian side. And yet, before, I've learned over time, you have to actually honor all of your ancestors. And, I work with this a lot when I'm sharing in the Healing Wisdom Talk, especially for mixed race. Because if you don't honor all the aspects of your traditions, then you are either ignoring and or sometimes there's actually conflict, especially where you have mixed race heritage who are maybe it's in North America, especially in North America, black and white mixed, and or colonizer colonized. If there's conflict there, so the honoring of everyone, because that is who really makes us up here. But then I had to be kind of really, at first I was really honored. At first I felt like I wasn't one or the other. And then, it was like, oh, but also there's this small amount of this now. And then how do I and so in there, though, I also came to a moment of because most people will look at me and think that I look Native American. And so I've had to really be cautious around my wording and on my honoring. And also that's why I like to be clear now of, I don't consider myself identify as Native American, but I'm so grateful for 30 years on this medicine path and 30 years of being involved in this traditions from different elders, the ceremonies we mentioned already, the sweat lodge, the vision quest, sun dance, the spirit dance, chanupa holder, then the plant medicines as they came in as well. And then I think if mixed race heritage can look at it all as the gifts and to know and understand that our soul chose this incarnation, which means we've chosen who are going to be our parents and what is going to be our lineage. And yet, the reality is, and I'm sure for you, as I'm assuming you identify as a Black woman in America, that's there's a lot of energy that comes with that same
Mhm.
thing as I mentioned, also colonizer energy, so Spanish, English, French colonizers, and someone who is part Indigenous. 50-50 doesn't matter what the percentages are. If someone has an anger or resentment or a shame or a guilt
Mhm.
towards one of their lineages, then that conflict is now within. So there's a beautiful work I like to share with people that I usually share in my healing talk around a practice of forgiveness with ancestral lineage so that that can be cleared and healed, so that then we're not in this incarnation holding on to any of that. And if we're going to have children, then pass that on to, yeah, to our descendants, because trauma will go down the lineage. We went off
Wow,
around
Erica.
off on a tangent there,
No,
but
you didn't. Like, I mean, I feel like I want to interview you like all the time because I feel like I just you are a wisdom carrier, and I think in these times where people are so hungry for that, I know I think about the folks that I serve, the Black community, POC community, people of color, Black people. And I think about just the feelings of I call it incongruence for me, like there being a conflicting energy of what I identify as, what is placed on me as my identity, what is actually my admixture on the inside, me trying to move forward but not acknowledging, and so I feel held back. So I, even on my own personal healing journey, I can imagine a lot of people, especially like a lot of mixed heritage people, which I mean, I think that constitutes a large amount of what we consider Black people, is that we come from a lot of different things. And a lot of times we don't even know what those things are. Like I recently did a DNA test and I was like, oh, okay, this is,
Wow.
now we have some stuff here. We have percentages of DNAs. And I'm like, oh, and then after doing that, I did ceremony with Mama Aya and had a whole ceremony just devoted to that. And it was a really hard ceremony because I was realizing I hadn't done the work of really getting into I didn't have the names for them. And I think that's the challenge with a lot of Black people specifically, or even other people of color whose histories, whose opportunities to connect with their culture have been taken from them.
Yeah.
They're just like, how do you honor these things when you don't have the opportunity to even know where you're from? You know, even being ready to go there can be its thing. But I'm sitting here being like, I want to have you back on Black Condor Talks, like hopefully multiple times. I just think you're just such a value add in what you've shared. And I'm like, there's so many doors we can open on this conversation. I know we're here to talk about liquid tobacco. We're going to get to
That's true. We're not even, but
yeah.
when you're so right. And in fact, in all the years of now sharing, and all the years of ceremony, being in them, receiving, giving, witnessing, it is one of the most important pieces actually is the ancestral lineage that we're carrying, which is in our DNA. But it's also the fact that the emotions and the experiences that our ancestors had can go down the lineage, and it can be healed. Everything can be healed. One of my Peruvian elders says absolutely everything can be healed. And when I do a personal healing session, I am going to obviously work with a person's history in this life, but I will go into like, who are your parents? What is your ancestry? Because in there, you're already working with then the history of, so, and I actually, when I do the healing talk before a liquid tobacco ceremony, it's really important to me. It's like a 2-hour talk, but in there, I'll really focus on how trauma sits in the body, mind, spirit, and soul. I'll bring in ancestral lineage because someone needs to understand that when they're going to elaborate a prayer for themselves and then work with the tobacco to work with that healing. And so one of the most interesting things of doing this work has been to start to understand the trauma and how it sits and the discordant energies that sit inside of us. And depending on where our ancestry is from. And anyone who's like full white, by the way, with ancestry from Europe, I mean, Europe had some of the worst white on white violence of, countries being invaded by the Romans and then the British. And then there was the Middle Ages, and then there's the church, and then there's misogyny and patriarchy and torture. And they just came out and brought it with them and then caused all the damage done around the entire planet. But if we were to believe that there's nothing we can do about it, why even try? This is my lot. This is what I receive. No. And I've seen beautiful healing and beautiful transforming of discordant, destructive energies that have come down our lineage. I've had to do the work myself with being, have colonizer on this land and what that entailed, and then work with a practice of forgiveness and gratitude with my ancestors. And I give as examples actually anyone Black in what is now known as the United States of America, that when, as humans, when we pop out of our mother's womb, we don't all start off at ground zero. We're already dealing with whatever is coming through the lineage. And so Black in America, and I don't have to tell you this, yeah, it's an energy of ancestors that were stolen from their homeland. So there's sadness, there's grief, there's anger, there's resentment, there could be shame of guilt, there's, a boat. Anyways, we could go on this, for a long time. Anyone coming from Korea is
Yeah.
dealing with right now North and South separated. They're coming from a separated country. Anyone Indigenous and colonizer. Wow. I mean, think about that. Oh, I hate the white people. I have some friends. I hate the white people, da da da, because they came, and I said, but aren't you part white? We're like, yeah, but they identify more with the Indigenous side. But they can't hate the white people because they're part white. Whatever the percentage,
Mm,
doesn't matter. Or
mm,
those people who did the DNA tests and they get it back, and then they're like, oh no, there must be a mistake here. I'm like 20% or 25% Indigenous, or I'm 25%
yeah.
Black, or I'm 20% Chinese.
Mm,
And then these very
mm,
white people are like, there must be a mistake. I'm gonna do
yeah.
another one. And so then all of a sudden it's okay, so what are we holding? And then the stories of those people, everyone, the
Yeah.
courage, the pain, the suffering, to help heal that. It's beautiful work. And
Right.
it's really beautiful work. And I really believe that individual healing is collective healing. And that's why
Ashe.
I do what I do. And that's why I encourage people to do their own healing, because that is how we're going to have a better humanity upon this planet, and better
Yeah.
descendants and future generations, more healed, more present, more alive and vibrating with like kindness and respect and love. And I don't know, here in the United States, we're gearing up for election time, and it's just like, what is with this country? It's the
Hmm.
polar
Yeah.
extremes. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot
No,
there.
I mean, I mean, it was a lot of greatness. I think what something that you shared that I feel like segues into like the next question that I have. I think when you were mentioning like DNA test takers like myself, but just yeah, just moments where you're like, well, I can't, oh, like, well, I don't want to, almost there can also be almost like a stigma that's associated with having certain blood lineage within you. And I was thinking about the conversations that we've had in our back and forth emails about tobacco, because
Yeah,
tobacco in itself is a sacred plant medicine. For some people, this is their first introduction to tobacco being that such thing, like a sacred plant medicine. It's often stigmatized and it's very much misused. Also, somewhat like also like cannabis, but that's a whole nother conversation. But I know that tobacco is a sacred plant medicine that's used across so many different traditions in different ways. I know for the purposes of like this conversation that we couldn't touch on all the ways that tobacco is used around the world. Hopefully people can keep coming back and listening in as we try to explore and find people who have that expertise, or maybe
yeah.
another conversation with you. But my
Mhm.
question is like, so how do we shift our perspective? How do we how do we see tobacco as a plant medicine, and what role does it play when you work with it in ceremonies?
Yeah. Beautiful questions. Yeah, I think the first thing to share is that tobacco, um, and most of the other master plant medicines. So I'll just go in: tobacco, ayahuasca, Wachuma San Pedro, peyote, cacao plant, coca leaf, all native to what is now known as the Americas. And that says a lot. And so in there, the tobacco for me is one of the most powerful medicines, and which is why it's also one of the most abused on the planet. And it's probably one of the first colonized plant medicines of the sacred master plant medicines, as back, I think it's 1500. And they could see that, the indigenous people were using it in different ways, either smoking it or ingesting it or inhaling it. And they were having different experiences. So just take it. But if you don't have a respect for the spirit of the plant, because every plant has a spirit, and this goes for anyone going to go to a plant medicine ceremony. You have to have a respect for the spirit of the plant, and an intention and prayer of why you're going to work with it and how you're going to work with it. And then the quantity is important too. And so in there, tobacco is one of the oldest cultivated plants in the Americas, and it's a plant medicine that is usually present and an ally to all the other plant medicines. And yet on its own, we work with it in prayer ties, in the chanupa or a tabaquito, praying with it. Also, it's ingested in the form of hape or rape, which, by the way, is not pure tobacco. It's usually mixed with other plants and flowers and ashes of. And yet, and the liquid tobacco, which is how I work with it. And then we work with it in prayer ties. And so it's how I've been taught by my elders. It's our connection to spirit, to great spirit. And then it opens the doors to others. It's a medicine that grounds and stimulates and offers clarity at the same time. Some will only stimulate, some will only ground. This one does both. And then also, and especially with the way that I work with it in the liquid tobacco form, where it's just water added to mapacho, which is a Nicotiana rustica from the jungle. And then my prayers for people's healing. Also, how the tobacco will be worked within ceremony is the spirit of the tobacco. And I just remembered someone in Peru once gave me the name. I have a few different names for my elders, two different names for my elders, but Achachila Saire, and it means the spirit of the tobacco. So I forgot that I actually received that name from someone. And so the tobacco also in a ceremony, sometimes they will blow the smoke of the tobacco into someone to help doctor and allow the spirit to go there and the medicine to go there to help heal any traumas and or discordant energies. It helps to put like order into chaos. And is one of my Indigenous elders from the South. We talk very much of the physical body. We have three bodies: the physical body, the mental, emotional body, and the spiritual body. If they are out of alignment for any reason, for any traumas, accidents, illnesses, ancestral trauma, we're out of alignment. The tobacco helps to realign. And then it does the grounding, and then it offers the clarity. So the way that I work with it now is slightly different from my elders and how I worked with it in the South, the liquid tobacco. It's usually ingested in the nose, but I also work with it topically for people who maybe have some medical contraindications or they don't want to work with it ingested. It still works topically. And basically, I've kind of added in what, after so many years of being in ceremony and witnessing healing and how healing works, and especially the power of prayer and our intention. And so when I work with a medicine now, people have to make prayers for themselves. What they would want to transform, transmute, release, and let go of, and what they want to call in. But the talk before, the healing wisdom talk, is what allows people to start to understand, where am I holding things that are no longer serving and why. And the understanding that everything in our lives actually allowed us to be here and now, and then how do we heal, transform, transmute that which no longer serves, but with gratitude. So it's a beautiful ceremony that's very quick. You've been in them several times now, very quick. You always know where you are. You always have an understanding. And then I ask specifically that people work with some sound, a little bit of movement to help the medicine move through the body and then release. And then I usually will doctor during the tobacco, which means I will go around and I will actually work on people and pull out certain things or help realign or say something that I'm seeing or feeling from them to help them on. But I think the most important thing is my understanding of how medicines is they're helpers. And they help us to heal, but really each person is their own greatest healer, greatest doctor, greatest medicine. Because if not, we're giving away our power to another person or a medicine man or woman or a plant medicine or a path or a lineage or a guru. We've disempowered ourselves. And so part of what I like to do is remind people how to heal themselves. And so I feel very grateful and honored to do that. And I've been witness to some amazing, beautiful healings and prayers answered. And I truly feel that at this moment in time, we need more people doing that healing work. It's not a selfish act. It's how do we get more in our authentic being, and then we are able to there from that point share our gifts and our talents and our wisdom to others, and to be in the service of unconditional love at this moment in time, because as humanity on the planet, we're pretty destructive, and we don't have a lot of time to do this. So there is a bit of an urgency to all of this, for me at least, in sharing more healing spaces with people.
I love like all of the different ways in which you've named uh one, just kind of placing all these indigenous medicines in the Americas. It's almost as if these plants, which we know are sentient beings, had an intelligence that they would need to be called upon for the betterment of humanity to be there. And then for all the ways in which you named that tobacco is being used with the prayer ties, with the hape, with the use of being, doctored, like and so many more traditions with tobacco being offered to the land. And I think it's quite incredible to think about then as you kind of neared the end of what you were sharing, how like it's almost as if like through the plants, we as humans can rise up and show up better for ourselves and show up better for the planet, show up better for humanity. Um, and yeah, the connection of healing through connection, it's in a ceremonial space, right? Black Condor, like what we do and what a lot of different tribes do, is it's about creating a healing space for groups of people to gather, because there's something about the power and potency of gathering people to do healing work. I mean, there's so much power when people have one-on-ones with the healer, or when people have, therapy or different forms of healing. But there is something to be said about gathering large groups of people. And I'm curious about, like, how do you believe the communal aspect contributes to the individual and familial or communal and collective healing?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Thank you. I think that that's also a really interesting dichotomy between what we're seeing now, which is in therapy, and in this psychedelic and plant medicine renaissance. The Western model is very much like one-on-one, and in there, I think you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And if you look towards the indigenous peoples and how these medicines have been held since the beginning of time, then you will see that yes, the communal aspect is very important. I mean, not all, I mean, obviously you do have one-on-one healings, but to sit in a circle, to sit around, the importance of an altar, the importance of songs, the importance of prayer, is all, I mean, I feel very grateful that I was able to be initiated in that first. And I think that's maybe also this individualistic society that we live in has, and it's really interesting to do this work, because I also do personal healing sessions. And in general, when I do group ceremonies, sometimes there's more women than men, or women identified. And then what was very interesting after the Netflix, which is a whole other story about why I agreed to do that, and have, I thought, a voice to share some of my concerns around this renaissance, around and honoring Indigenous peoples as this happens. And so for me, the presence of community, a group, the altars, all of that is so important to healing. And I am so fortunate that that's how I was, I don't want to say trained, but how I received my healing, and then was able to witness so much healing for other people in that. So I think it's personally important. And of course, the other one-on-one also works. But what I was going to say was, I was noticing how it's more women than men coming to the ceremonies, but after the Netflix thing, all of a sudden it switched. I had more men contacting me, trying to see about a personal session in private. And that, I found that was interesting. And I'm not sure if it's because I offered the medicine to Michael, and Michael's, white male. Michael Pollan is a white male, and all of a sudden, it's okay then. But it was interesting how it may be that feeling of like how young men are raised, of like being into do it a Lone Ranger, Superman, do it on your own, and you don't need any help. And that's a really toxic, that's a toxic way to be brought up. All, humans, we're about connection, we're about community, and we're about, especially growing up young.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
how we're raised, the culture we're raised in, what boys are taught and girls, and now there's, the more fluid gender identities coming in at this point, the cultural background, all of this influences how we are raised and how we develop into human beings and our personalities and our experiences and how we deal with our lives and our life experiences. So um, definitely communal aspect for me is an important one. Not the only one, but it's I think for plant medicines, beautiful medicine, because then everyone is medicine for the other. And what someone may
yes,
be going through during the night has an influence, and it's beautiful to watch. People become mirrors, people become
mm,
opposites, people remind you of your ex partner or parent that you had a difficult time with, but that's medicine.
yeah, that's
It's all how
medicine.
we choose to be in it and how we choose to be affected by something and or do the healing work so that we're more present in our being without those past influences and unhealed trauma.
Yes, I agree. I completely 100% agree. And I think that what's so beautiful about the community connection, it just there is this unspoken essence, I think, in our DNA as humans that we've always gathered, that we've always had ritual in this way, and that um I don't know, it invokes being able to feel your ancestors. It invokes being able to feel a rightness within you when you're in like a communal healing space that I can't I can't get from any other type of healing. So
Mm,
I love that. And I do think also just the intergenerationality of it that I really appreciate. Like we strive as best we can to try to get our elders to come to ceremony, to have young people there, to have that tribal feeling or that feeling of just remembering who we've been. Because to your point around us needing to really show up for these times, a lot of it is showing up, remembering the old traditions, because that's the thing that is the medicine for these times. Like people are forgetting that it wasn't too long ago that we were all in tribes and that we were all connected and not disconnected. And I think the medicine of ceremony itself, besides the plants and besides like a lot of the different technologies, just the technology of gathering, I think, is medicine in itself.
mhm,
And so I believe it's beautiful. Yeah, just the work that you're doing. I'm
mm,
curious about um I'm curious about if we kind of go back to the tobacco for a moment and um the just then the technology, we're talking about all these different technologies, the technology of intention
mm.
and how tobacco can work with tobacco as a technology, then our human consciousness and being in the right setting and having intention. Could you talk about like if someone who's seeking to participate and getting ready for this process of engaging with tobacco in this sacred manner, like
Mm.
how does the tobacco assist an individual in aligning with their intentions and in clearing obstacles on their healing journey?
Beautiful, yeah. Um, it's so interesting. I guess I'm noticing the age difference because you use the word technology and I would use the word medicine. And it's all good because it's how do we connect to other people. And so, as I said, I turned 60 and came really quick, and I noticed sometimes how different people like the culture has changed so much, and especially, I mean, look at us, we're doing a Zoom talk. So in the preparation for the tobacco medicine, and truly this is one of the challenges in how I work, is sometimes I will go in, like, you know, there's, let's say for the Black Condor Tribe, I can work with the tobacco. We just go and do the ceremony. I used to work with it before a sweat lodge all the time, and I could only give about a 15-minute instruction. But I had to, basically, I needed to tell people, all right, everyone, there are high vibration and low vibration energies. And in there, we can get stuck in the lower, denser vibrations of anger and fear and sadness and grief. Not good, not bad, but low dense, and they will get stuck in. So I would do this really quick talk. So when I get to do the 2-hour talk, then it prepares people. And some people, you know, don't understand that the tobacco is one of the most sacred medicines that we have. And so it's hard to change people's mind. I'm sure so many people don't even come. We had this discussion around the word tobacco today, but a little earlier we were discussing this. And so I'm gonna assume that people who understand and need the healing will be called no matter what. And so in the preparation for it, it is, what is the intention and the prayer for working with this medicine? And in how I work with it, one side is going to be what you're ready to release, transform, transmute a discordant or destructive energy or emotion or experience that you may have had in your life where you are continuing to suffer from it. That is a choice, by the way. If we choose to suffer, we're going to. And so it's like a destructive energy from the past that then becomes self-destructive as we continue with the stories, the memories, especially in the somatic body, it can be stuck in here. And so in there, the preparation is going to be, what am I ready or wanting to heal, to transform, transmute? What am I ready to call in for my life? And I give pretty specific instructions on that. And then, you know, I will always ask people the night before, you know, please don't engage. I mean, it's not necessary, but don't engage in any other, you know, substances. So that you can really be with the purity of this medicine. This tobacco medicine, you know, it's I just, you know, realized this the other day because I worked with it for some long COVID issues I had. This is a kind of not a well-known story, but every single cell in the human body, that's 30, I think it's trillion, have a nicotine receptor on each cell. Why? Not necessarily for tobacco, but nicotine is in all the nightshades, potato, tomato, peppers, it's in celery, it's in. So why would, you know, our bodies have nicotine receptors for that? It made and actually explained a lot in terms of healing long COVID for me, because the long COVID proteins goes on to the nicotine receptors and then won't let go. And so the only thing that will actually kick it off is nicotine on a nicotine receptor will bump off the spike protein. So interesting. But then I thought, maybe that's why the liquid tobacco ceremonies are so powerful. In fact, I think when COVID first happened, they said, oh, be careful, the smokers for their lungs are going to have a really difficult time. And they didn't. And people were like, why don't they have a difficult time? They should be having a really difficult time because their lungs are, because the nicotine, it was actually. So it's a very, you know, interesting thing to learn about after working with tobacco for so long as one of my primary medicines. And I've seen miracles with the tobacco. I've seen people's prayers get answered in the ceremony. I see people go to their phones after, you know, the prayer was about a relative they hadn't spoken to, a parent they hadn't spoken to for years, and literally there'll be a message from the person on the phone. I've seen people the next day tell me that, you know, you won't believe. I mean, I've seen miracles of physical healings. I've seen miracles of relationship things. I've seen people ask for, you know, new jobs or new partners, or mostly the exciting pieces are when people are able to heal a negative pattern that they may be stuck in, a health issue, where they get clarity for something, where they're releasing a fear of something, a doubt of. It's a very beautiful medicine that obviously is different for every single person, and it depends on literally what the prayer is. So I'm excited by this medicine. I don't know, I got very excited talking about it. And it's crazy because, yeah, it can be a poison or a medicine, depending on the quantity you're taking. And of course, I'm just going to remind, I think you already know this, but the tobacco that is being smoked by most people in cigarettes around the entire planet is some tobacco and about 300 plus chemicals, all toxic. And part of that is actually to get you more addicted to it. And I think the lack of respect for this plant medicine is also why there is an issue around addiction and there is an issue around cancer. And I've heard some people talk about, like, if we don't have the respect for the plant medicines that are now in their renaissance, ayahuasca, San Pedro, wachuma, peyote, etc., mushrooms, children of light, we call them. If the respect is not there for the spirit of that plant, we may see in 5, 10, 20 years the same thing that happened to tobacco happen with the plant medicines. And that's a really scary thought. And so, yeah, and I've had people come to the talk saying, I'm not going to work with the tobacco. I just, and then they hear the talk and then they're just like, oh, actually, I think I'm going to. I feel, once you've explained like how trauma's in the body and what we can work with, and I trust you now. And so now I want to work with it. And like I said, some people, if they're very sensitive or have a medical contraindication, I work with it topically now. And it's transdermal, so it will work a little bit slower. And some people just energy. One of my elders used to say that there are many people at this point, like there are certain people that have to learn, be with the medicines because they need to learn what the spirit of the medicine is, because one day there may not be any more plant medicines. And at that point, there needs to be people who can transmit the energy and the spirit of the plant medicine without even ingesting it. And so that's clear that with peyote that, it's nearly extinct and it should be reserved only for the use, honestly, of full native, as far as I'm concerned. Ayahuasca as well, the jungle's burning. It's in a continuous fire down there. And so, yeah, it's such an interesting place to be in. I believe that the plant medicines are healers that help us heal, that help us attain and connect to different levels of consciousness, but it has to be done in a respectful way. It has to be served by people who've done the work, people who've done their own healing. And one of the warnings I wanted to give on that Netflix that got cut out, so I was a bit disappointed, but that was about, the power, the money, the greed, sexual predators in the medicine path, medicine world, native, non-native. And that should be of great concern as this renaissance is happening. So we don't further, traumatize people. And I've seen it all. And yeah, there's some pretty discordant people, energies and people who are carrying the medicines. My prayer always is going to be that whoever is carrying the medicine does so in a respectful way. They've done training. It's not 6 weeks in the jungle, or, the certificate program things that I'm seeing come across my Facebook feed. I'm concerned, that yeah, people are being certified that haven't even been with the medicines, let alone 5 years. I mean, it takes a long time to understand the spirit and also to do our own personal healing, because otherwise someone is just splattering their stuff all over whoever is sitting with them and then re-traumatizing them. So, I may be a little extreme in my thought, but I've seen so much on this path that that is really unacceptable and is dangerous.
Yeah. Which is why we're so grateful to be connecting with you, Erika, someone who is carrying the medicine in such a beautiful way. That's, and that's also the point of the intergenerational tribe, right? That we can get the the wisdom on how to walk and carry and connect with these sacred plant medicines, how to walk upright in our own integrity as we come and do this work. So yeah, it is true. It can be challenging and sad, but it's also beautiful to note that that you continue, even probably with seeing a lot of heartbreaking things, that you still continue to wake up every day and choose to walk this path and create opportunities for healing and transformation.
I have
Gosh,
said,
we
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry I interrupted. Thank
no,
you for
please.
all that. I think it would be so much easier, and I did that for many years of just like, no, I don't want to serve medicine. I don't want to help. I
Yeah.
received what I needed to receive from my life. And my elders really pushed me on this. They were like, well, I said, no, I just see so much like ego and power and money, and
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want to
Mm-hmm.
be a part of it. They're like, that's why you need to be out there. And I resisted for a
Yeah.
long time, but truthfully, if you have a path set out for you by spirit, you can't really resist it. And I
Mm-hmm.
trust that anyone who is, I mean, I'm constantly checking my ego, constantly checking, why am I doing this? Constantly
Yeah.
checking myself to be sure I'm in right relationship with the medicines and with healing. And I'll be healing myself probably for the rest of my life. And so
Mm.
it's not like you get somewhere and it's done. And then my prayer always is that, whoever is going to be working with the medicines or giving them, that they're in right relationship and they're in right alignment. Wounded healer is real. That is
Yes.
where they say that some of the best healers are the ones who've been wounded in their lives, and so they have that empathy and understanding. And we still have to have done our work, and we're not perfect. No one is perfect, um, and yet there are levels of healing and that come just with time. That's why wisdom, knowledge, I think, I don't know who said this, but you can read a lot of books, you can take a lot of courses, you can have a lot of knowledge, but if you don't actually put it into practice, then that is actually wisdom, is when you actually live it and put it into practice. And so I know people who've gone on the mountain and done their 4-year commitment, come down after their 13 days, and I see them, and I let's just say they need to go up on the mountain a little bit more. And I've made a lot of mistakes in my life as well. But I think the closer
Mm-hmm.
we get to our most authentic being and heal some of the traumas we have and live in kindness and
Yeah.
love and respect. And I care about this planet. I've chosen not to have children, and I felt like, and the universe kind of was like, no, this is not for you, and pulled me out in the moments of like, I think we're
Yeah.
gonna start trying to have kids, and then it was like, no. And so I've dedicated my life now to being of
Mm.
service to others for healing. So I don't know what some people think they're going to leave their children, honestly. And so for me, the waking up of humanity to live in harmony and balance on this planet is absolutely necessary, and in an urgent way, because the the effect that we've had as a species on this planet is unacceptable. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Actually, we're so
Mm.
intelligent, and we create, like, here we are zooming, and then I could be on the phone talking to my relative in Japan or someone in South America, and we create works of art and beauty and send people to the moon, and then it's just unimaginable to that we then will pollute the waters that we need to drink, pollute the air we need to breathe, the food we need to eat, genetically modified. And I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
what exactly? We're basically destroying what we need to survive, and we've disconnected so far from nature. We are part of nature, but yet
Absolutely.
kind of anthropocentric. We get to have domain over everything and everyone and all the animals. And like, there's medicine in the animals, there's medicines in the forest, there's medicines in the plants, and we're destroying it. And that's unacceptable. And future generations, like I said, I chose not to have children, but you know, what are we going to leave them? Right now, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. And yet I care that the future generations, and I'm going to hopefully get to the end of my life and say, I did everything I could to try to help. And I think I'll feel good about that. And I'm
Mm,
so grateful that now I get the honor to share what I know, to offer healing spaces to people so that then they can then be in the good medicine that they need to be for their lives, for their loved ones, for their communities, and then for this planet. I mean, I really do envision a new humanity on this planet that's a better humanity, as one of my elders, a kinder, more loving humanity. And I used to say this, as quickly as it looks like it's gone downhill, as quickly it can just come back up. And there's new souls coming in who know what they're getting into. And so when we do the healing work, I don't know, I won't ask you how old you are, but I'm 60, and everyone who's around my age has kids who are 25, 30 years old. And so, the healing will go down. I have a lot of faith in those that are then, because we're like, I think I and maybe the generation above are the first generations to do healing work. And if healing and trauma goes down the lineage, well, our ancestors didn't have time to do that. They didn't. They were just trying to survive. And so in there then is this moment of like healing going down. Now instead of trauma, it's healing going down through the lineage. And it's a choice every person makes about how they're going to be here in life and on this planet. And I am asking people to choose kindness and love and respect, and living in balance and harmony with ourselves, with others, and then with other species and on this planet. And it's a choice. It's all a part of life, on a spectrum of life. It's high vibration and the lower denser of anger and violence and rape and fear. And it's not good and bad, and they all exist. But I'm hoping more people in healing themselves will then live from that space of the higher vibrations. And then that is in quantum physics, that high vibration will automatically pull up the lower, denser energies. And so in there, is like more people living here, kindness, love, respect, compassion, pulls up this other part. And I think in the United States right now, what you're seeing is like the last death throes, like that last death rattle of like racism and patriarchy and misogyny and consumerism and power and greed, and is just like, they're not even hiding it anymore.
mm,
Just openly, this is
yeah,
what we're doing. And it's just
yeah.
like, maybe because they're feeling desperate, because a change is happening around, and they do other, wisdom keepers, and the prophecy is there that we have to really fall down to the depths of destruction. And I'm not going to say dark, because that's a hierarchy power construct to say dark energies of. It's just discordant, you know.
Mhm.
And so I have hope and I have faith. Sometimes I can get a little disappointed, but in general, I have hope and I have faith for humanity, which is why I keep doing what I do. So I hope. I don't
Absolutely.
know how I've been talking for so. I mean, I don't
Absolutely. It's
know.
all beautiful,
All right,
and
we're good.
I'm so here for it, and we will find out exactly where all of this information goes in different
Yeah, people
ways,
can
in
turn it
different
off if they
flows.
get bored.
No, no. I do have one kind of final question, but before I ask this question, I just wanted to share, like, when you were speaking about the liquid tobacco,
Yeah.
and I first, experienced liquid tobacco with you
Mm.
many moons ago. I think it was 7 or 8 years ago. Wow, it
That
was
was
eight
the
years
crazy
when I first.
lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, the crazy lightning. But it was, I mean, that's what I'm saying, you could turn anything into a sacred space as long as you have intention. But so I went to that, I met you for the first time. I listened to your wisdom talk. And I'm actually so interesting as you were talking, I'm just now making the connection that like the deeper connection as you were talking about the ways in which the liquid tobacco can kind of radically transform and heal and clear your life, that was the point in which I think I had the inception to create Black Condor.
Really amazing.
Yes, as you were talking, it came in clear as day. I'm sitting watching a panel full of men talking about ayahuasca and mostly white men, and I was just like, I don't see myself reflected, and if I can't feel that, and at that point, I had been working with the medicine about 6 years at that point. So I had, had some connection with the medicine, 5 or 6 years, and then we did that liquid tobacco, and it was just kind of like to what you were saying, like the call of like, an elder in scope of just the medicine itself being the call of like, well, what are you going to do about it? And it took a couple of years from that moment. I think it took like a year and a half until I really stood up and activated the prayer. But that was, and then I've done 4 liquid
Mm,
tobaccos at different moments with you. Like I don't know if you remember, but I remember I've come to
yeah.
4 different ones, and every time it's been like a crossroad moment or me wanting to have a really strong, almost like the medicine is really great at serrating or just really helping you just break something off of you or break through something. And so I just wanted to give you that. I know it can be challenging in these times and in this world to, with the work that you're doing and being a wisdom keeper and a medicine woman, to think like, oh, like just the impact of what this means. But like, through that moment, the work that you did imbuing to me,
Mm,
that changed my whole life and
mm,
created an opportunity for me to create a space for Black people and people of color to connect with the medicine in a good, safe way, in a clean,
mm.
healthy space. You did that. And so
Wow.
just wanting to
Well, you
just
did
give you
that.
that.
I'm just a spark.
Yes, yeah, I
I'm a
mean,
helper.
yes, but it is that thing. And like, who knows the work that we've done with Black Condor, who knows the lives that we've impacted and the young people who come to our ceremonies and how that's shaping them. So I think sometimes, yeah, we can, when we get too big and not, sometimes it's nice to be myopic. I just wanted to give you a myopic moment of like, I know that I'm not the only story. I know you've touched thousands of people and you've made thousands of people activate into their medicine path and creating space. So it's like you're, just wanting to name that we are all, whether we see it or not, we are connected. We're in this web of healing of the globe,
Mm,
and we're all holding the different pieces and parts
yeah.
of that work. And I just really appreciate you and thank you for what you've done for me personally, how this has then made it so that everyone who's come to ceremonies that I've organized and all the family members who are impacted of the people who come to ceremonies and then their children, it's this ripple effect that we'll never really see and understand. So I just
Thank
wanted to
you.
name that.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wow. So thank you
I,
so much that for letting me know that, because many times I don't know what the effects later on are for people. Sometimes they will write me, and I feel truly honored that if that is the case, that is the case for
that
you
is
and
the
for the
case. It
group.
is.
Because, and thank you for doing the work of listening and activating your prayer more than anything. I'm really honored when you asked me. I actually been thinking about it. Once I started to see the work you were doing, I was like, oh, I would love to like offer the talk and the medicine, the tobacco medicine to this group. And so in the end, it took a little while, and I was just like, oh, okay, well, whenever. And then you finally wrote, and I was like, oh, yay, I really wanted to, it's so important for me in the allyship of people of
Yes.
color, and especially in groups and in the medicine field. Yeah, I mean, it's strange since all the medicine's coming, a lot of it's coming from the South and in Indigenous groups, people of color, that up here, it's a pretty white, um, yeah, pretty
Yeah.
white, I don't know what to call it, even a field or pretty white spaces. And that
Mhm.
is really sometimes challenging for people of color
Yeah.
to feel comfortable enough to be with medicine to open up. And for me, with the tobacco medicine, what's also really beautiful, and this, it's quick, it's fast, I work in groups of anywhere from one-on-one to like up to, I think the most I've worked as a group of 75 people, but alone 50. 50 is about my limit for like serving it, one nostril, working on everyone, short, but still doctoring, and then the other, nostril. So I call it lightning medicine. It's immediate, it's direct, it's transformative. It just it will, and so for some people it takes a little longer, but I'm honored truly that yeah, that this medicine was able to help you on your path. And like I said, it's just a helper. And it takes you to make those prayers, it takes you to make those decisions and the actions. And that's, I think, what's so exciting. It's really just kind of helping people heal themselves. And that to me is because then in that space, then they don't need me. They don't need the medicine. They are the medicine themselves. What a beautiful thing. And then they get to be medicine for other people. So this is really inspiring. Thank you for sharing that story.
Absolutely. I'm one
And
of
I'm
those
excited.
people.
Couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, so this leads me to, so we are, for those who are interested, we are having a liquid tobacco ceremony that is a special safe space for the Black community for this particular offering. And it is coming up in March. And it's going to be March 23rd. We're going to be up in Sebastopol, California. There'll be an opportunity to connect with this beautiful tobacco medicine and to bring your prayer, to bring your intention. And if you feel called, this is the invitation for you to come and join us and be a part of it. I'm curious, as kind of like the last question.
Yeah.
So you and I, when we were on the phone, we were like, when are we doing this? And we landed on it being actually pretty close to the spring equinox. Like it's on the
Yeah.
23rd.
Yeah.
I'm curious from your vantage point, holding the ceremony near the equinox and offering this unique element, how does the energy of that particular seasonal transition, how does it lend to the transformative qualities of the ceremony?
Yeah, what a beautiful question. Absolutely. An equinox where the sun and the moon are equal on that day, and I think it's probably the 21st, so we're pretty close. This, daytime and nighttime is an energy, and it's all about balance. Our lives are all about balance. So I have a feeling that will be actually extra medicine for us in the talk, especially because some of what I share is about how to be in balance, how to bring into balance our two sides, and to understand the dual nature of who we are. But we're actually not this or that. We're all of it. That's what we get to be. So to be in an equinox where practically the same amount of daytime and nighttime is present, I think would just support it. And in fact, usually on solstices and equinoxes, wisdom keepers, we can be pretty busy because that's where a lot of the ceremonies take place. And many of anyone connected to earth-based religions, indigenous peoples, anyone who just understands that we are nature, understands that there is a specific energy to the solstices and the equinoxes. And so spring is also going to be a beautiful time of coming out of the winter, which is a more inwards time. And so spring is like that push to rebirth. The flowers I come from Canada, so like we come out of the snow. So flowers are blooming, buds are popping up. And so there is an energy also of rebirth, of starting anew, that will be around that equinox time as well. So yeah, it's exciting. I'm very exciting. And it will be the first time that I do a talking to tobacco for Black community. Um, I've done I've worked with POC, I've worked with all women's. Haven't I done an all men's? Don't think I've done an all men's. That's coming soon at some point, I hope. And so this will be my first time to do this specifically for Black community. So I'm really honored that it's for your community, for it's the Bay Area community. And I'm actually excited also in the wisdom talk to also focus it a little bit more, especially the ancestral piece around, the realities that I haven't lived personally of being in Black in America. That's where we're going to be in California. So what that reality is, and also having that conversation too, to hear, as well as what I perceive and see and have seen with people I've worked with. So I'm excited. Yeah, thank you for asking and for allowing me this honor.
It's a mutual honor. It's like the honor of us both being able to create the change that we want to see in the world. So we're extremely honored to have you, Erica, and just really grateful for you being able to bring um, your blend of Red Road prayer into the Black community. It's so special about what I love and I pray for with the work that we do with Black Condor is our ability to connect with people like you, where we
Mm.
can see different facets of ourselves because we're experiencing different healers, because we're working with different medicines in a good way, in the good way. And so thank you for creating the opportunity. Thank you for your allyship. I really appreciate you. I appreciate all the wisdom that you've shared today. I'm pretty sure, I know for me personally, I've gotten so much medicine from this conversation. I feel just very activated and very excited about the work that you do in the world and the work that you're going to be sharing with the Black community really, really soon. I just wanted to say on behalf of Black Condor that, we're just so grateful for you. Thank you for your time and energy. And for those watching, I just want to say thank you as well for taking the time to learn about a new tradition, for taking the time to sit and pray. Like every time we sit and focus our energy on healing and on prayer, that is emitted into the world. So thank you for choosing content that's uplifting, that's healing, and if there's a resonance, please feel free again to connect with us and join this powerful work. Eric, is there any last words that you'd like to share with everyone?
I would just like to say how grateful I am that everyone's making a choice to heal themselves and be healing medicine for others. And I have a lot of hope for this planet. I have a lot of hope for humanity. And so I'm so grateful that you have this community. So thank you to everyone who's tuning in. Thank you, Adorable, for the work that you're doing and for hearing the call and the prayer years ago. And that's how it works. We're just like this interconnected web. And I think it's really important that we feel that connection, and that we have our own special groups and spaces, but that we do connect, because I think that in this moment, where conflict is so rife everywhere, whether it's Palestine and Israel or Ukraine and Russia or Black and white or male and female, it's so easy to go into this conflictive nature. And yet we're all in this together. And all you have to do is come out this and look at this floating blue planet, and you realize we're all in this together, and we need to be allies for one another, and we need to have love and kindness and respect. So I'm so grateful that this Black Condor Tribe, such good medicine. What a good name too, Condor. I mean, condor energy is one that heals and cleans that which is poison in the world. And so yeah, I'm very excited and honored. So I look forward to seeing people there. And if it ends up just being you and I sitting and talking, then that'll be good too, because this has been a great conversation. I'm really excited to have spent this time.
Mhm.
And so I look forward to seeing people on the 23rd.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Erica. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And we hope you come back for our next talk for the Black Condor Talk series. Take care, y'all.
Have a wonderful day.